All right, so time is now 3:03. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Cannabis Regulatory Commission's second meeting. As noted on our agenda that is posted on our website, we have an executive session today, which allows the commission to discuss certain limited matters privately without the public. And that executive session should last approximately 30 minutes. So we'll indicate when we reach that point. But I'd like to now call this meeting to order. Executive Director Jeff Brown, please read the notice of the public meeting.
Madam Chair, this is a meeting of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Senator Byron M. Bayer Open Public Meeting Act. There was publication of the meeting time and location in two New Jersey print publications, the Trenton Times and the Star Ledger on Tuesday, 4/20. And the notice has been sent to the Secretary of State and posted on the public bulletin board outside the Secretary's office. Information regarding the virtual nature of the meeting due to the COVID-19 pandemic was posted in the publications and on the CRC website. In addition, agenda of said meeting has been and is being displayed on the website of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission.
Thank you, Director Brown. I'll now take the roll call. Commissioner Barker.
Present.
Commissioner Del Cid.
Present.
Vice Chair Delgado.
Present.
Commissioner Nash.
Present.
And Chairwoman Wainu is present. So all members of the commission are present and we now have a quorum. So before we get started and really get into today's business, just want to recognize that the CRC is just a little less than 2 weeks old at this point, but we're still very much excited about the work that we're going to do. And we're thrilled that we've got so many attendees joining us this afternoon as well. I believe we are now up to nearly 275 folks joining us virtually. So thank you to each and every one of you. We're glad to have you. And also want to note that we will have a public comment period for folks to speak directly to the commissioners at the end of today's, at the end of the meeting today. And we'll go a little bit deeper into details about the rules of the road for the public comment period. So our first order of business is for the commission to go into executive session so that we can discuss litigation and other interagency contract negotiations. These are discussions that are not shared with the public. However, we do not expect to take any action concerning the items discussed during executive session today. So just to reiterate, while we're in executive session discussing non-public matters, the commission will not be taking any action on those matters today. So we believe the executive session should take about 30 minutes. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session so that the commission can discuss litigation and interagency contract negotiations.
I second the motion.
Great. Moved by Vice Chair Delgado and seconded by Commissioner Barker. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. So the commission will now go into executive session. For the members of the public who are watching, we expect this to last about 30 minutes. So we'll leave the live stream going during that time, and we'll return once we're done with the executive court session. So right now my clock says we're at 3:07, so we can expect to resume the open public portion of our meeting at or around 3:37 p.m. Thank you, and we will see you all shortly.
right, good afternoon, everybody. We're just coming back from executive session here.
Jeff, I still can't turn on my video.
Go for it.
There you go. Thank you.
Director Brown, are we all set?
Hey, Jeff,
Tim,
my video's-
give it one more try.
can't do it, Jeff. Cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. That's the message I get.
All right, give me one moment here.
Oh, I got another message. Nope, can't do it.
Try now.
There you go. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
There it is.
All right, I believe we are all here. So thank you everybody for your patience. The executive session has now ended and we'll resume the open public portion of the meeting. And I see that we have gained several new attendees. Welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning into the second Cannabis Regulatory Commission's public meeting. So the next item on today's agenda is approving the minutes of the special meeting that was held on April 12th, 2021. Director Brown, have the meeting's minutes been shared to all of the members of the commission?
They have indeed.
Thank you. If there are no questions about the meeting minutes, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the minutes.
So move, Madam Chair.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded by Commissioners Del-Cid and Nash respectively. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the April 12th meeting minutes say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it and the motion is carried. Next on the agenda, we have the approval of resolution 2021-3 of the commission concerning the adoption of an amended annual meeting schedule for the year 2021. So the law, both the Jake Honig law and the legalization law require that this commission adopt an annual schedule of regular meetings. So the amended proposed meeting agenda is now displayed on the screen currently. If you are joining by phone, apologies, but hopefully we'll be able to put that up on the web for you after this meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2021-3 concerning the amended annual meeting schedule?
So moved, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Delgado. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Del-Cid. Is there any discussion on the proposed annual meeting schedule?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman.
Commissioner Barker, please go ahead.
So I understand that virtual webinars offer us the flexibility, especially for some people, to join events at any time throughout the day. But with that said, especially when it comes to the CRC public meetings, given the historical context and present day struggles facing so many, I do believe that all meetings should be held in the evening at a time when most of the general public, especially the Black and Brown communities most harmed by the discriminatory cannabis policy, when they're available. Their ability to participate and provide input is critical. And so for those reasons and some others, I cannot support the proposed annual meeting schedule.
Thank you, Commissioner Barker. Any other members wish to comment or raise questions? Commissioner Barker, I appreciate your viewpoints here, and you are right that it is critically important for us, for the commission, to engage members of the public, and that includes making sure that we are available at various times so that the public can participate in our public meetings and see and hear the commission conducting its work. I think that the meeting schedule that has been proposed does provide a nice mix for individuals who can, for them to determine what time works best for them. But I do genuinely appreciate your contributions in making and getting us to this point, really, because you did a lot of work to make sure that we did include evening meetings to make sure that we are more accessible to the public. So I applaud you for pushing for that, Commissioner Barker, and I think you have made this a much better schedule for the commission. But with that, I do think that the mix of day and evening times allows for members of the public to have the flexibility in determining which meetings they can participate in. Any other discussion on this resolution or on the proposed schedule?
Negative.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, Director Brown, can you please call the vote on adopting Resolution 2021-3?
Under consideration is the motion to adopt Resolution 2021-3, the amended annual meeting schedule of the Commission for the year 2021. Commissioner Barker.
Nay.
Commissioner Del Cid.
Yes.
Commissioner Delgado. Vice Chair.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right. Yes.
Commissioner Nash
Yes.
and Madam Chair Wainu.
Yes.
The resolution passes. Thank you.
Next, we have the Executive Director's report. Director Brown, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. Very brief report today. I just wanted to note a critical milestone that we achieved over the last week. Over the weekend, we eclipsed 107,000 patients signed up in the medicinal marijuana program, medical cannabis program, as it's now termed in statute. And that is a 90,000 patient increase from just 3 years ago. So, wanted to take a moment to just thank the staff, at the department who got this done, and now at the CRC, who are really committed to getting patients enrolled and moving them forward into this program and expanding access to medical cannabis. We have a lot more to do when it comes to medical cannabis, but I just wanted to take a moment to note that important milestone here. And at the next meeting, I should have some very important details to share on our updated patient registry, which has been in the works for a while, and we're rounding the corner on the development of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Brown. And yes, kudos to you and the team for the tremendous success of the medical cannabis program. You've done a lot of work to expand access for patients. And I know that work continues, and that dedication is, you carry with you into this new agency with the CRC. So thank you for your work on that front, and congratulations to you on reaching this milestone. So next we have for discussion only the interim medical cannabis testing standards for laboratories. And this is pursuant to New Jersey statute 2426I-19. So I'd like to consider a motion for discussing these interim medical cannabis testing standards. We've also invited members of the public to also comment on testing standards.
We can't
And-
trailer that. Anything that could go wrong did go
Oh,
wrong.
if you're not speaking, if you're not supposed to be speaking, please keep put your phone on mute. Thank you. All right, so we've invited the public to share their thoughts on the subject as well. And so members of the public will be able to provide their input and their ideas during the public comment portion of today's meeting. For now, Director Brown, can you please provide an overview of this need for interim standards?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. So importantly, the commission has the opportunity now in both Jay Koenig's law and in the cannabis legalization law signed earlier this year to put into place a third-party laboratory testing infrastructure. And one important thing to note is that the legislature gave the commission the authority to establish interim standards for testing laboratories to begin operating in the state of New Jersey in advance of our formal regulations. While our formal regulations are under development and have been under development, even under the Department of Health prior to transfer, it is important to establish an infrastructure for patient safety, for consumer safety in the future, and allow third-party laboratories to get into this industry and begin to work with cannabis, whether medical or in the future personal use cannabis items, to test them for microbial contamination, foreign material, residual pesticides, heavy metals, and other residual solvents as established by statute. So I wanted to put up for discussion today, and we all wanted to the public a proposed path forward, an initial path forward to getting third-party testing started in the state of New Jersey. So importantly, if you look at subparagraph E to section 26 of Jay Koenig's law, it notes that until such time as the commission establishes the standards required by this section, a licensed laboratory shall utilize the testing standards established by another state with a medical cannabis program, which state shall be designated by the commission. So I wanted to throw a proposed approach out there. As Madam Chair noted, we will take comments on this during the public comment session today. We would also welcome them submitted via writing to mmp questions@doh.nj.gov. But our proposed approach is this. The commission can establish these interim standards pursuant to 24-6I-19 by choosing a state's regulations by which laboratories in New Jersey can operate in advance of our own regulations, provided they're also in compliance with key statutory provisions. Prior to licensure by the commission and prior to regs, via waiver, we can then allow alternative treatment centers to contract with private third-party laboratories for quality assurance and quality control that meet the statutory provisions of 24-6I-19 and agree to operate under the interim standards established by the commission. Contracts would only be approved until such time as the commission establishes its own standards and licensure process for testing laboratories via regulation. Importantly, this would not replace obligations that currently exist to be tested by the state lab, but would augment and expand testing capacity and allow third-party labs to begin operating. Importantly, labs need the opportunity to work with cannabis, work with the material in question, to test and validate methods, and also to prepare for the licensure process and get the certifications they need to ultimately get licensed in the future in accordance with the statute. We've done some due diligence here, and I wanted to put two particular states out for consideration for public comment. The two states that we've really honed in on as being potentially, being able to be utilized here in New Jersey for these interim standards are Massachusetts and Maryland. I think while there are many states that have done a tremendous job with third-party lab regulations, I think these align very closely with the statutory provisions in Jay Koenig's law and in the law signed earlier this year for broader legalization. We welcome comments on the proposed approach on the states that are under consideration. And these comments can be accepted today during the public comment portion, and also after the meeting can be submitted in writing to mmp questions@doh.nj.gov, which will then be forwarded from that email address to the commission and to the commissioners. So with that, I would like to turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Brown. Is there any further discussion or questions from the commissioners on this topic?
No.
I don't have any.
Director Brown, one quick question for you. So once under the proposed approach, once the commission has established or identified which state's standards it wishes to adopt for New Jersey, approximately how long would it take for the waivers for the ATCs to be processed?
Well, I think importantly, we would do an executive directive establishing that state, and that would be paired with the regulatory waiver needed to ultimately move those contracts forward. I will note that one of the statutory provisions that will need to be satisfied is criminal background checks. So that's one thing that sort of the employees of the laboratories will need to go through, particularly as they handle cannabis material, but that will be done pursuant to the broader J. Koenig's law and the requirements there. As far as what we need to do from a regulatory perspective, it's those two pieces, and I think we can move those simultaneously.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners?
None here.
No.
Hearing no further discussion on the floor, we'll move to the next item. Again, members of the public wishing to provide comments on these interim standards will be lined up to speak during the public comment portion a little bit later on in the meeting. Next on the agenda is the approval of a resolution authorizing the executive director to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Health on behalf of the commission concerning staff, technology, and administrative support for the commission. Director Brown, can you please provide an overview of the need for this authorization?
Absolutely.
And commissioners can feel free to ask any questions they may have.
So in instances when we have an agency transfer like we're in the process of doing, where the infrastructure for the regulation of medical cannabis is being transferred from the Department of Health to the newly established Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Generally, the sending agency and the receiving agency will enter into a memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding, establishing the responsibilities of the sending agency and the receiving agency in accordance with the transfer. Transfers are subject to the State Agency Transfer Act, so the two need to work together by law to effectuate a smooth transfer. But there are instances where it's important to get some additional details in place via an MOA or MOU. For us particularly, these fall into the following categories: technology, financial or fiscal, facilities and maintenance, criminal background checks, ethics, legal, and then additional services provided by employees that are still under DOH, but in the process of transferring over to the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. This just makes it clear on both sides who needs to do what and when, and ensures that we're able to continue smooth business operations at the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, continue to enroll patients, continue to enroll caregivers, and continue to process applications for employees at alternative treatment centers.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
None here.
All right. Now, Director Brown, just for the public's edification, this authorization is purely to authorize the executive director to enter into such a memorandum of understanding. It is not an approval of the MOU or MOA itself. Is that correct?
Correct.
And though the public will the finalized MOU, that will be a matter of public record?
I think potentially some of it will. I think would have to go through the proper legal channels to see if anything needed to be redacted for security purposes, as a substantial amount of it does relate to information technology infrastructure, and there are security concerns whenever we're talking about that. But certainly some portion of it, I think, would be available to the public.
Thank you. Yeah, if there are no other questions, do I have a motion to authorize the executive director to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Health?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, moved by Commissioner Nash and seconded by Commissioner Barker. Thank you. So we now have this motion to authorize the executive director to enter into an MOU with the Department of Health on behalf of the commission concerning staff, technology, and administrative support for the commission. Do we have any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, Director Brown, can you please call the vote on adopting the authorization for the executive director to enter into an MOU with the Department of Health?
Under consideration is the motion to authorize the executive director to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Health for services specified in the resolution. Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado.
He's muted.
There we go.
Yes.
Yes. Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The resolution passes. Thank you.
Director Brown, I
Nash
think you missed
also yes.
Oh, Commissioner Nash. Sorry.
Thank you. So next on the agenda is the approval of a resolution authorizing the New Jersey Department of Health to conduct criminal background checks and other functions on behalf of the commission during this agency transfer. Director Brown, can you please provide an overview of the need for this authorization to the Department of Health? And I'll again invite my fellow commissioners to ask any questions they may have.
Absolutely. So related to the MOU that we will be entering into with the Department of Health, there are certain functions that the Department of Health will be performing on behalf of the commission. Most notably is we'll need to rely on the unit at the Department of Health that currently conducts criminal background checks to continue to do so while we stand up that capability here at the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. They in turn need the authority to be able to continue to do those background checks because it's required by both the FBI and the state police to run those checks. So this would establish that. It also covers employees who are in the process of transferring over to the Cannabis Regulatory Commission and just establishes that they can continue to act on behalf of the commission, even in advance of them transferring over to the commission formally under the direction of the executive director. And these are staff who are performing critical, functions like registering patients, processing those employees who are seeking employment with an alternative treatment center, and generally just keeping our infrastructure going.
Thank you. Any questions or comments or discussion from the commissioners?
No question.
No questions.
If there are no questions, do I have a motion to approve this authorization?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. So we now have a motion and second to approve the resolution authorizing the Department of Health to conduct criminal background checks and other functions on behalf of the commission during the agency transfer. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Director Brown, can you please call the vote?
Under consideration is resolution authorizing the Department of Health to provide criminal background checks and other functions on behalf of the commission on a temporary basis during the period of agency transfer. I will now call the vote. Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
and Commissioner Del Cid.
Yes.
Finally, Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The resolution passes.
Thank you. All right, so now we've come to the public comment portion of our meeting. You know, the commission would like to remind you that you can submit comments during and after the meeting by sending an email to mmp questions@doh.nj.gov. For those who may be on the phone, again, that email address is mmp questions@doh.nj.gov. Please note that the comments submitted to this email address are shared with the commission members, and they will be made public along with this meeting's minutes. So in order to achieve the goals and priorities of the commission, your comments are vital, and we are very much interested in hearing from the public. So today you have the opportunity to share your thoughts and ideas with members of the commission. We'll begin public comment period by hearing from those who have signed up in the order in which they signed up to speak. So before we begin, you know, I want to note that last week we had nearly 650 people watching our virtual meeting, and we received more than 100 comments. And so we were all thrilled to see this level of engagement with the new agency. And in reviewing the comments that we did get, there were 4 prevailing themes that really stuck out. First and foremost was the issue of home grow, making medical cannabis affordable and accessible, the process for getting a license for an adult use cannabis business, and concerns about the limits on the number of licenses that are available. So I want everyone to know that we are in the process of developing a list of frequently asked questions, and we'll provide answers to those common questions on the CRC's website, nj.gov/cannabis. So we expect that to be posted in just a few days. However, given the sheer volume of questions that we received about home cultivation, I do want to take a moment to quickly respond to that. Under current law, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission does not have the authority to permit or regulate home cultivation of cannabis plants. Excuse me, if I'll ask the host to mute the participants. Thank you. So the Cannabis Regulatory Commission does not have the authority to permit or regulate home cultivation of cannabis plants. We're aware that there are several pieces of legislation that are pending concerning home grow that seek to change those existing laws that prohibit this activity. But while the CRC cannot comment on pending legislation, anyone who has questions about that issue should contact the legislature. So with that, I'll briefly share some of the rules of the road as we open up the public comment period. As indicated on our website, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. That is to allow us to accommodate as many speakers as possible. When you are speaking, please be respectful and concise when giving your comments. As this is our first public comment period, all of the commissioners will be in listening mode. This means that the commissioners will not be answering direct questions or engaging in a back and forth with the speaker unless needed to clarify the speaker's point or redirect the speaker for an offline conversation that might be appropriate. When Director Brown calls your name to speak, he'll call out the names of the next 3 speakers. So when it's your turn to speak, the director will ask you to unmute yourself. If you're dialing in on a phone, you will have to press *6 to unmute yourself when told to do so. Please note that in order for our staff to correctly identify the speakers and those individuals who had signed up to speak, your full name or your phone number needs to appear on Zoom as it was used when you signed up to speak. So if you need to change your name to make sure that it matches what you used to sign up, just go to the participants list on the Zoom window, find yourself at the very top of the list, and use the options there to rename yourself. If you're joining by phone, the phone number the phone from which you're calling has to match the number you used to sign up. We will not be able to correctly identify you as a speaker if your name or your phone number does not match what was used to sign up. So with that, Director Brown, can you please call our first speakers?
So the first three who have signed up are Cameron Pitt Jr., Karen Moskowitz, and Sarah Powell Esquire. So I'm going to start with Cameron Pitt. Just bear with me here because we need to find you on the attendee list here, and we do have a lot of attendees. So thank you all for the interest. Cameron, if you're on, if you could raise your hand, that would also help. Is Cameron Pitt on the line?
Director, we may need to
Yeah, so
the next person
we'll
and then
move
try to
on.
come back.
We'll move on to the next one. So let's go. Let's go next to Karen Moskowitz. Karen, if you're on, please raise your hand so that we can unmute you. Okay, let's go to Sarah Powell Esquire. Oh, we have Cameron. Okay, all right. Cameron, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you, Cameron.
Wonderful. I just wanted to see if it was possible to talk about the rules surrounding the 350 milligram requirement in an eighth, maxing out for concentrates. I think that's been a major challenge, and it's also something that I think is keeping cost in a really bad place right now. You know, knowing that you can purchase an eighth in this current program of flower, and that can have a 30% THC percentage, which is roughly 1,000 milligrams of THC. To limit carts and concentrates to 350 milligrams really doesn't feel like a just or equitable system. And so I think as you're writing legislation, I would really encourage you to remove that restriction.
Thank you, Cameron.
Yep, you can call me Qualb. It's fine.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, so let me go again to Karen Moskowitz. If you're here, please raise your hand and we can unmute you. And I do not see Karen. So let's go to Sarah Powell. Sarah, if you are on the line, just make sure you're listed as Sarah Powell, or raise your hand so that we can see you. Okay, so the next three we're going to go to Elijah Levicki, first and foremost, then Shannon Hoffman, and then Theresa Howard. So Elijah Elijah, if you're on, please raise your hand or make sure you are titled by your name so that we can find you. Do we have Shannon Hoffman?
Shannon Hoffman's there.
Yes, I see Shannon Hoffman. Shannon, you should be able to unmute.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi, Shannon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to provide our comments today. My name is Shannon Hoffman, and I'm the Regional Director of Operations for Steep Hill, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and we look forward to submitting an application for New Jersey. We're an independent testing lab that's been testing cannabis since 2017. And we anxiously await the opportunity to apply to test cannabis in New Jersey and look forward to working hand in hand with the CRC and ATCs. We absolutely support the discussion of adopting regulations from Maryland or Massachusetts. We think both would be very appropriate. And we also encourage to New Jersey to require ISO 17025 accreditation for testing laboratories. As you're aware, there's been a lot of lab shopping questions and quality testing questions with laboratories across the country. And ISO 17025 helps to address some of that and provide a quality system for laboratories. So we're very excited about this move and we're ready to come and join hands and work in New Jersey. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Shannon. So next is Theresa Howard. I see Theresa. Theresa, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Okay, I had a question in reference to financing. I know right now the federal banks can't engage, but what are the state banks doing, and what are the state is doing for financial for minorities?
So Theresa, as Madam Chair noted, we're not responding to questions now. We're taking comments. So we would welcome any comment you would like to provide to the commissioners. We would gladly listen to it.
So I just would ask if you would, while you're making these regulatory processes going forward for recreational, that you put that into some consideration. That would be my comment.
Okay, thank you. So next we have Jason Ravitz. I see Jason. So Jason, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
Executive Director Brown, I'm good. My question was answered, and thank you for to the commission for their service and stepping up for the state. But my question was answered, so I'm good.
Thank you, Jason. Next, I have Diana Nunez. Diana, if you are on, please just make sure you're named. Your name is your full name so that we can see you on the participant list, or raise your hand. Okay, I see you. All right, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good
Good afternoon.
I wasn't sure if you could hear me. Thank you for taking this. I think you answered my question a little bit before. You are only accepting comments. My question was also with regards to what is going to be available to new venture startups with respect to timeline and resources as far as lines of credit and grants, specifically to minority and women-owned. But I do understand that you're not taking questions.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Next, I have Andre Pierre, and then Randall Querry, and then Terrence Ruff. Andre Pierre on. do not see any Andres or Pierres. Randall Querry, I see you. So you should be able to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Chair Waynu, Director Brown, and committee members. I'm Randy Querry. I'm Director of Government Relations for the American Association for Laboratory Accreditation, A2LA. I've been involved with lab accreditation for well over 2 decades. And on behalf of A2LA, I'm commenting specific to the lab testing and accreditation standards. By way of background, A2LA is a nonprofit accreditation body, currently with over 3,900 actively accredited certificates representing all 50 states, including over 80 organizations accredited for cannabis testing. We have been granting accreditation to testing laboratories in various industries since 1979. Criteria forming the basis of our lab accreditation program is ISO IEC 17025. We ourselves, as an accreditation body, have been evaluated against rigorous standards in providing this accreditation service and are recognized globally as an International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, or ILAC, recognized accreditation body. In operating a state cannabis program, sampling, testing, and the ensuing test results are critical to the program. Regular laboratory assessments leading to accreditation will provide the users of test reports with confidence that the data is backed by a quality management system, technically competent sampling and testing, qualified personnel, and use of appropriate facilities and testing equipment. Our comments are as follows. We strongly encourage the adoption of regulations that will require cannabis testing facilities to achieve 17025 accreditation through an ILAC recognized accreditation body. Establish accreditation and licensure criteria for cannabis testing facilities, which shall include as a condition for licensure, full accreditation to 17025 by an ILAC recognized accreditation body. That is, no conditional licenses for cannabis testing facilities. The license shall permit a cannabis testing facility to collect samples and test cannabis and cannabis items in accordance with the provisions set forth by the Commission. And then on a schedule determined by the Commission, every licensed cannabis grower and processor shall allow access to their facilities to a licensed cannabis testing facility employing a sample collector to collect representative samples of cannabis, usable cannabis, or cannabis-infused products produced or processed by the licensee. This recommended language will achieve the current intent of interim language while relying on an existing formally recognized accreditation system that is widely used nationally in the cannabis and hemp testing industries and provides parties with a choice of accreditation bodies and laboratories. The importance of sample collection as an independent, unbiased activity should not be overlooked. Sampling can be one of the largest contributors to uncertainty in the results. Please note that the most recent version of 17025 includes requirements for sampling organizations. This activity.
Randall, your 3 minutes are up, so take 10 more seconds here.
Yeah, so the key is to include sampling as part of the accreditation process as well. So that's checked. I'll also be submitting written comments. So thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to provide the comments.
Thank you. Next, Danielle Del Gaudio. Danielle, if you're on, I do not see a Danielle. So Danielle, if you are on, please make sure you you have your name appropriate. And next is Terrence Ruff. And I do not see Terrence on. So the next three are David July, Andrea Winslow, and Moses Segura. So let's find David. I see David July. So David, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you guys for this opportunity. I'm so excited. One of the statements or questions I had is with the amount of space going into a micro license is 2,500 square feet. But after speaking with a bunch of contractors and construction companies out here in New Jersey who already created facilities, they feel the 2,500 is pretty small to actually be able to compete with a multi-state operator. And I know a lot of our rules we've taken from different states. And one of the statements I wanted to ask or put in if we can have an increase of maybe potentially 5,000 square feet as a micro business. So whereas compared to every other state as a micro business, and we're able to compete with the multi-state operators. The other two questions I had were kind of basically about funding and just making sure that the little people are able to get in and there's some type of grant. Not all of us know how to, swindle and, figure it out. So, for just to make it very equitable, all of us to have an opportunity. And if there's some type of grants and something that you guys can put into place for us. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, we have Andrea Winslow. And I see Andrea. Andrea, you should be able to unmute yourself. Andrea, you're unmuted.
Hi. Okay, thanks. I don't have a particular comment at this time. Just thank you for holding these public meetings.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Moses Segura. And I do not see Moses. So Moses, if you are on the line or in the Zoom meeting, please just make sure that you are titled by your name so that we can see you. I do not see you in the participant list. So next we have Christopher Driscoll, then Andrew Wallace, and then Justin Escher Alpert. So I'm going to start with Christopher Driscoll. I do not see Christopher Driscoll. Chris, again, for anybody who wants to comment, please just make sure that you are signed into Zoom with your full name, or if you're on a phone, by the phone number that you signed up in the to MMP questions. So next, we will go to Andrew Wallace. I believe I see Andrew Wallace. Andrew, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, how you do? I'm understanding that you're not particularly taking questions at this time. So I want to make a comment in regards to, I'm understanding that there's actual educational institutions right now that's actually putting out classes in regards to getting into the cannabis industry. And during, I guess, another session, if y'all can comment to the validity of them and if it's necessary to take them courses in order to get involved. Also, I believe everybody's already pretty much established that with minorities and the impact that the war on drugs had on minority communities, of making sure that there is some type of lane for minority communities to have some type of leg up getting involved in the industry. And I just want to make a comment in regards to making sure that y'all are aware of that and the 3.5 times rate that we have been arrested in the past in regards to marijuana convictions. So that'll end my statement.
Thank you very much. Next, I am going to Justin Escher Alpert. Justin, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you very much. First of all, thank you to the entire commission. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a long time coming, so thank you for doing this. Prohibition failed because nobody was following the unjust law. The law didn't make sense. People have a natural and unalienable right. They were exercising it. Right now, right here in the Garden State, people are already exercising the economic liberty. And they're doing it rather freely. And actually, it's the official policy of the administration that rather than home cultivation, which people are also doing on their own, you should continue going to your regular dealer until corporate cannabis gets up and running. We should issue the micro licenses very, very quickly to anyone who's local, who lives in the community, who is banking locally, who is working with their township, is hiring locally at real living wages. This is the sort of healthy commerce that should go right out the door as quickly as possible. The multi-state operators are a completely different issue. We really, really need a due diligence of the medical ATC model to understand where cash flows are pouring out of the state. We need to look at rents to real estate investment trusts that are not being recycled back into the community. We have to look at corporate management fees that are flowing out of the state. We have to look at debt servicing. I've seen numbers out there as high as 14%. We have to look at IP licensing. All these cash flows that will bleed us, the state dry, the mistakes that we have made with other regulated industries. Now is the time to get that right. And because this actually plays very well in a format, in a boutique format that's local and responsible for the community and accountable to the community, and we want to encourage healthy local innovation, those micro licenses should go out quickly. But those big licenses, we really need to have an understanding of how the ATC market works. Secondly, the law is not designed well.
Hey, Justin, just 45-second.
All right, I'll leave you at this. The law is not designed well. If there are problems in the design of the law, this commission needs to be vocal about it because we have the ability to change the law to make it work. That's it. I'll submit more in writing. Thank you, everyone, for the work that you are doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Chris Goldstein, and then Chuck Latini, and then Dr. Nishith Patel. And apologies if I'm not pronouncing names correctly. So first, I'm going to try and find Chris Goldstein. So Chris, if you are on, please just make sure you're signed in under your name. I do not see a Chris or a Goldstein in the participants. So we're going to go to Chuck Latini. I see Chuck there. Chuck, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Director Brown, for the opportunity to address you this afternoon. Listening to your introductions the other day, I'm confident that the industry is in good hands, and I look forward to working with you guys moving forward. My comment and question kind of comes as a president of the American Planning Association, professional membership whereby 1,200 of my plus or minus members represent and consult every one of the 565 municipalities in the state and are discussing cannabis every day with their constituents. I'm also director for the not-for-profit Cannabis Advisory Group, a national think tank whom together with APA has been working with municipalities in education and advocacy aligned with the responsible and systematic growth of the industry. That said, we've also worked with the league, whom you are aware has put out some sample opt-out ordinances with many municipalities looking to wait and see what happens in the coming months and gain more information. That's led to many of my members turning to me for advice as we continue to work with them, particularly those who want in, but remain vigilant that some other criteria might be coming forward. In the past, we've had conversations, Director Brown and I. The zoning issue was by and large at the time left to the municipalities, and I continue to endorse that approach if that remains the case. While I personally feel different license categories could and should be treated differently than other license categories, the municipalities should continue to be encouraged to decide these issues for themselves especially as the requirements play out vastly different on the ground, as you know, particularly in our urban communities where opportunities for access absolutely shrivel if they are not granted some flexibility. I've mapped out a lot of these communities and the case is evident. However, whether or not you're inclined to place additional criteria as a group toward the locational decision-making process for any of the license categories, which I hope you don't, August is right around the corner and the ordinance process takes months to perfect, particularly as it's a zoning issue, which ties to very specific regulations governed under the municipal land
Chuck,
use law.
45-second warning.
Municipal regulations governed under the municipal land use law in both process and notice requirement provisions. So any statement you all can make sooner, like now, is appreciated as we're trying to help you expand the marketplace. Even if it's basic, towns are seeking for some comfort level moving forward. So both on behalf of APA and the advisory group, we remain committed to working with you on education and best practices in this regard. And as always, I remain committed to New Jersey first. And thank you all for your time. Appreciate your work.
Thank you, Chuck. Next, Dr. Patel, are you on the line? I do not see you. So next, we're going to go to Jessica Tafur, Paul Plaskanka, and Brian Yerger. So let's go to Jessica first. So, reminder, if you did sign up to comment, please make sure you are signed into Zoom, and you can actually rename yourself, but just by clicking on the three dots next to your name, you can rename yourself appropriately, so that we can see you as you signed up in accordance with the instructions posted on our website. Okay, so we're going to go to Paul. And I see you, Paul. It seems you're signed in a couple times, so I'm going to try it. I'm going to try one first. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, Commission. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for having this forum and hearing me speak today. One thing I wanted to speak on is the Massachusetts standards for testing. I recently was up in Massachusetts to visit a large cultivation facility. One of the downfalls I noticed to their stringent testing was a lot of the cannabis buds were losing their flavonoids and terpenoids because they were being dried in excess to avoid any issues with testing for moisture content. So that might be something you want to refer to the experts to talk to them about, because there is synergistic effects of cannabinoids that help treat certain medical conditions. The other comments I wanted to make in this forum were, of the 37 cultivation licenses, are the remaining applicants for 2019 applications going to be awarded some of those 37 licensing? That's some rumors that are being circulated, that some clarity would be nice. Another question for this forum would be, how will cultivation facilities be able to source genetics through clones, seeds, any information on that, and any updates on when rules and regs will be released would be great. Those are my questions for the public forum, and I appreciate all your guys' hard work and for hearing me as a public voice.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we have Brian Yerger, Sarah Aarons, and then Justin Ruiz. So let me see if Brian is here. Do not see Brian Yerger. So Brian, if you're on, please just rename yourself appropriately so I can find you to unmute you. We're going to go to Sarah Aarons, who I see. Sarah, you can unmute yourself.
Great, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Hi, I'm Sarah Aarons. I'm the CEO and founder of True Labs for Cannabis. We are building an analytical testing laboratory dedicated to cannabis here in New Jersey. We're a women-owned business, and I've lived in New Jersey for over 20 years. So my comment is specific to the cannabis market integrity and safety. True Labs for Cannabis is really focused first and foremost on bringing transparency and safety to the New Jersey cannabis market. Accountability for cannabis consumer safety comes in many forms all throughout the seed to sale life cycle. And unfortunately, there are businesses out there who care more about their bottom line. It's extremely important for the CRC to oversee and enforce cannabis product safety. I know Executive Director Brown recently said at an event in March, and I quote, "What we've seen in other states are things that can be problematic, things like lab shopping. What I want to do is have a dedicated staff at the CRC devoted to laboratory compliance, ensuring that they're doing things the way they should, giving accurate information to patients and consumers. That's going to be extremely critical," end quote. So how do you prevent lab shopping? It is very important to point out that keeping an entire system transparent and accurate when it comes to consumer safety is paramount. Yes, lab compliance is enormously important, but it's not just about labs doing things the way they should. It's about all business types in the seed to sale chain doing things the way they should. Accountability and transparency are needed with each different business class to ensure the safety of cannabis in New Jersey. And I have several ideas on how this can be accomplished, and we'll share them directly in an email to the CRC. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I see Brian, who I called earlier. So Brian, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
How's it going, everybody? Just wanted to say that I run a CBD delivery in California. It's called JG Budworth. It's almost like JG Wentworth, you know, it's your money, you need it now. Anyway, I make CBD suppositories on my cousin's farm in down South Jersey. I was just wondering if anyone would be interested in that. If so, you can reach me on my website, JG Budworth.
Thank you, Brian. Next, we go to Justin Ruiz, and then Travis Ally, and then Carl Christensen. So let's see if we can find Justin first. I do not see Justin Ruiz. So Justin, if you're there, please make sure you're named appropriately. And next is Travis, who I do see. So Travis, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
We can hear you.
All right, thank you guys for taking my call. I actually submitted questions, but I'll just rephrase them in the form of a comment. I would say well, let me just back up. I'm founder of 93 ID. We're a vertical applicant from the 2019 RFA process in the northern region. And our comment would be that the CRC should take up announcing the winners from that process as its highest priority. And we're actually hoping that there'll be some announcement tonight, or at least an indication on when those announcements will be made. Another comment would be as it relates to the 146 companies that are still awaiting that award, who were not part of the lawsuit. There's at most 25 winners and 121 losers. For the 25 winners, I think there should be some consideration for the financial hardship that they incurred. And I think what would be fair would be to actually start the clock ticking from when the stay was put in place for those companies. So for example, I believe it was an 18-month or a 24-month blackout period when you first get awarded a license before you can expand. I think this clock should start ticking from December 2019 for those companies. And for the 121 companies that lose, there should be some consideration in future rounds that they apply if it's a point-based system going forward. And then the final comment is, I had it written down here, 1 second, please. Oh, what happens if you get the license awarded to you? Well, not a comment would be that if you're awarded a license and then the town that you awarded a license in does something via ordinance that jeopardizes your business or makes your business untenable moving forward, that those licenses should automatically become portable if that happens through no fault of your own. Thanks again for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Travis. Next is Carl Christensen. And I see you there, Carl. So Carl, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. My name is Dr. Carl Christensen. Thank you for the opportunity to address the CRC, and thank you to Director Brown for the information already provided to start the meeting. I'm the Chief Science Officer for True Labs for Cannabis, a New Jersey-based and focused analytical testing facility. I previously owned and operated a cannabis testing lab in Vermont and worked with their state to set up and define their hemp program. So I have two comments for you today. One, at True Labs, it's our perspective that the testing standards need to be communicated as soon as possible to facilitate the creation of the analytical testing businesses within the state of New Jersey. In order to effectively start an analytical lab, we must have clear targets communicated. And we recommend that the state define the various tests and critical limits that must be accounted for, but refrain from any comment on the methodology for how that data is achieved. The analytical testing world, especially with regard to cannabis, is always improving and evolving, and the role of the state should be setting the standards that must be monitored, but not the specific methodology, as many SOPs will be obsolete by virtue of the speed of innovation in both standard analytical procedures as well as advances in instrumentation. Though you have identified Massachusetts and/or Maryland as potential programs for interim guidance, the clarity of the New Jersey system will be of paramount importance for the smooth design and build out of certified cannabis analytical testing facilities. We would want to avoid being forced to retrofit to a new system in a short time frame. My second comment is the current makeup of the CRC does not have any pure scientists as part of their representation. And it's our belief at True Labs that the input of scientists will be of the utmost importance for many aspects of the regulation and support of the cannabis industry within New Jersey. As a former cannabis lab business owner and PhD in natural product chemistry, I was able to work closely with the state Vermont Department of Agriculture with setting the standards for their program.
1 minute warning.
Yep, I'm almost done. And I was part of an advisory group that they set up that provided studies and data to support the development of the regulatory standards within the state. Having left that role and thrown my support behind True Labs in New Jersey, I would be happy to offer the same support to the CRC, and I would suggest the CRC creates a scientific advisory panel comprised of multiple thought leaders in the cannabis space that are working in the New Jersey market. This would be an effective way to bring scientific experience, support, and rigor in the CRC's process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Carol Martin, then Merle Sanders, and then Christopher Emigos. So let me try and find Carol. Do not see Carol Martin. Carol, if you're on, just make sure you're renamed appropriately. Next, Merle. Do not see Merle. Same thing. Just make sure you're named appropriately here. I do see Christopher. So Christopher, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Mills. I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs with the New Jersey Business Industry Association, N.J.S.A. We are the largest statewide business association whose members employ about 1 million people in the state of New Jersey. I want to thank the Commission for the opportunity to speak with you today about employer concerns with legalized cannabis. When the legislature enacted the new law, they failed to resolve a number of critical issues. One issue of primary concern to the business community and to the public is the ability to protect the public in the workplace from employees who may be impaired while on the job. An employer's ability to provide for safety precautions is in safety sensitive positions, especially such as chemical plant operators, truck drivers, operators of heavy machinery, healthcare providers, and airline employees, became significantly more difficult due to the limitations of drug testing protocols and disciplinary actions that are now contained in the law. While the law specifically allows an employer to maintain a drug-free workplace, it's now more difficult to enforce it. But there are steps this commission can take consistent with the new law to ensure that employers can have a drug-free workplace while protecting the rights of employers. Number one, there are various federal laws that mandate employers use cannabis drug testing to ensure employees are not impaired. Federal requirements that employees must test negative for cannabis seem to be contrary to prescriptions now in state law. The commission needs to make it clear where federal law conflicts with state law, federal law should cover. Number two, often workplace safety rules will be governed by collective bargaining agreements. In many safety sensitive fields, these CBAs contain provisions on drug testing and usage. Where an employee and a labor union have voluntarily entered into a CBA for the benefit of both sides, it should be free to do so, and provisions of such agreement should not be precluded by the cannabis legislation, even if they impose more restrictive provisions on the use of cannabis by employees. Third, the need to use workplace impairment recognition experts, WIRE, to enforce cannabis use on the job is burdensome, both in terms of cost and time. Many employers want to do their own training of WIREs in order to make it more cost-effective and convenient. The commission should clarify that private employers qualify as private agencies in order to be certified to perform this training. The issues of workplace and public safety is one that employers take seriously. While the law has created uncertainty in how to maintain a drug-free workplace and has limited certain actions, this commission has the opportunity to provide clarity and make it easier to protect both the public and the workplace. We urge you to take action and do so. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify to you, and you will be providing more detailed written comments as we go forward.
Thank you. All right, we have two more who signed up to speak in advance of the meeting by the deadline. So first is Christina Fowler, and I see Christina. So Christina, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you and good afternoon. I was thrilled to hear that there will be a frequently asked questions page on your website. So my comment would be to clarify two of the following items before the August deadline. And I'm calling on behalf of our borough. So as our borough decides whether to opt in or opt out, there have been questions that have been raised with regard to the opt-in, opt-out. If we opt out, do we have the ability to opt back in at any time, or are we committed to that decision for the following 5 years? The other question that we're struggling with is, will you be addressing the 1,000 feet drug-free school zone rule? So will this apply to the retail shops for license number 5? Those are two of the questions that our borough is looking to, those are the two questions that we're looking to overcome so that we can decide whether we would like to opt in or opt out. So if they could be addressed on the frequently asked questions, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right, last signed up on the list is Casey Sturts. I see a Casey's iPad, but not a Casey Sturts. So just a note once again, and I think this is helpful for future meetings as we will continue to be doing them virtually. When you sign up for comments ahead of time, please make sure that you submit your name and your phone number as it will appear in Zoom so that we can find you. Casey, if you're Casey's iPad, please raise your hand and you have an opportunity to speak. I'll also note that we received a number of just purely questions submitted via email. Those will all be shared with the commissioners. Finally, as noted in the previous slides talking about interim lab rules, we do welcome continued comment even after the meeting on that and other issues, and anything that is received will be shared with all of the commissioners. And that concludes the list of folks who were signed up in advance to speak.
Thank you, Director Brown. There were a few others who had raised their hand, just in the interest of making sure that we provide opportunities for the many people who did take their time to join us today. Let's take a few more comments from the other folks who have raised their hands but did not sign up ahead of time.
Okay, so we'll go to Amanda Levy first.
Hello. Hi, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our comments. I really appreciate it. I am Amanda Levy. I am actually representing a CBD apothecary, and we're looking to acquire a license a little bit later. Our company name is Your Highness. The comment that I wanted to make is that I just encourage the commission to create social equity for creating access in the following ways for micro businesses. The first aspect is financial access for disproportionately affected people affected by the war on drugs. I also am asking for a lenience on criminal charges or background checks for potential micro business license owners. As of right now, that hasn't been fleshed out, but I also know that we're just trying to make sure that people that have been disproportionately affected and have paid their debt to society are given an equal chance to own those licenses. Also, the ability for micro businesses to hold multiple licenses as a means and resource of community outreach in high impact zones. And also the allowance for granting contingency licenses based on location. As of right now, I think most people's understandings, even of a micro business, is that you need to hold a retail space for up to 2 years prior to even having this license. And that is not accessible in any way, shape, or form on a micro and individual level. So that is all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to even do this. I look forward to seeing the legislation. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Nicholas's iPhone.
Hello?
Yes, you're unmuted.
Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to point out that we already know that, you know, Homegirl isn't really in your authority right now, but that can change very soon. It'd be great to know like your philosophical framework around the issue. You guys really should give your personal opinions. Thought that was kind of a dodge on a very important issue. So I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next is Seth.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Good.
All right, great. Thank you for having me. I'd like to say that I heard similar about this earlier, but I think it's very important to note that we are going to have a lot of interest coming in from out of state, and I understand that that is money flow for New Jersey, and I don't know anything about the state's current financial status in that capacity. However, what I do know is that, you know, with the pandemic, people have lost a lot of jobs, and even so with the restrictions that are put on businesses to have a limited amount of employees, that it's leaving a lot of New Jerseyans, you know, vulnerable to these outside people. We're trying to establish lives here. We know our communities, and in that, I would like to say, please give consideration to the locals who are applying for licenses and why we care about our community versus someone who's coming in from Maryland or Massachusetts or wherever or Colorado, whatever they want to do. The other thing is I would like to ask that you give consideration to, again, someone mentioned the square footage, but mainly the employee slots. On a micro business, it says you can only have 10 employees. However, the quality of the product that we would be providing and the security and the administrative work and also marketing and other things like that, a lot of people would have to double up or even triple up on jobs in which we could hire or create other jobs for. And once again, considering the unemployment rate, I think that it would behoove us to have more slots open. And additionally, the last person who said something, they said that their home grow is not within your power at this moment. I would like to give consideration to that in special circumstances for those who greatly benefit on a medical standpoint from a home grow. Even a small amount would even help. And I think that's really it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will just note, just because it's come up a couple times, the limits on micro businesses are another issue that are set in statute. So, you know, something like the 2,500 square foot limitation on cultivation or the 10 employees, that is all set in the law. So that's another issue like home grow, where our ability to address that in regulation is going to be limited and or non-existent. So next is up is Jalad, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. I just saw you, hold on. So you should be able to unmute.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I was trying to unmute. Thank you so much for allowing us to comment. One, I did have a question. I did reach out and ask for the recording from the previous meeting, but haven't heard back as I was unaware of it. So just wanted to look into having access to these videos or recordings of them going forward on the website or another platform is a comment. I'd also ask you to consider the clarity on whether food or beverages businesses will be considered, more specifically into what licensing, in terms of if someone is able to prepare food, infused food products, like preparing like a chef on site, if they're able to get that with their retail or any other business license. Second, I would also like to wonder when we'll be able to find out when these social equity programs are going to be available prior to licensing, as stated in the bill. We're supposed to be getting allotment of equity to help with just businesses and getting your business start up and run. So just wondering when we're going to be able to have that information. And also if you can consider having a list of zoning on the website where we're able to have it accessible onto what towns currently have the zones where we can't, we shouldn't even consider it when we're going forward. That's not easily able to be found on the internet. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next we're going to Edison Hunter.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak and, generally just for your vision and hard work supporting this legislation and your advocacy and leadership moving forward. I've heard a lot, in the framework and foundation for ATCs, lab testing, how you're going to do the division of licenses. What I haven't heard is anything specific to mass gatherings or the permitting or interagency requirements that you'll need if you want to host a large-scale special event centered around the thematic focus of marijuana. I understand, you're looking to Massachusetts and Maryland in the interim. I'm curious to know, is that going to be the framework, or will it be more of something similar to the way that food and festivals or brewery festivals, how they cooperate with the New Jersey Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control and then local municipalities with New Jersey State Police. So I just ask that you consider when the era of COVID and mass gathering restrictions are lifted, that there is a path forward for special event and concert promoters to start thinking about those types of plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Brian Cooper.
Good afternoon, Executive Director and also Madam Chairwoman. I am the founder and CEO of Ganja Go-Go Incorporated. We are a Black-owned firm, and we will be applying for vertical licensing in the state. We'd really like just a few things to make a comment about, specifically about maybe having a regular Gantt chart that's regularly updated so that we have, because right now, as a Black-owned firm, we have access to some big donors for financing, but it's obviously tenuous because a lot of information is not available. So for instance, timelines as to how long it will take to develop the regulation and the application/licensure process, as well as how long will the blackout periods be. It would be very helpful if that information was regularly updated with a specific section placed on your site. Also, we wanted to know that, that some of us, meaning minorities and women, will also be going for some of the larger licenses, one of the 17 that's planned to be released, not just the micro licenses, and we'd like to have a fair shot. We understand there's going to be a lot of big money, and we want to also let the commission know that there are minorities who are interested in going on large scale, and to keep that in mind. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, I have Zach K.
Hello, thank you for hearing me today. Hello.
Yeah, greetings.
Go ahead, Zach.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to speak briefly about the testing standards and the randomization of it. I think it's very important that we start more randomized testing on finished products and samples within the dispensary. We've found for a long time now that mold and aphids and other issues have been present in the cannabis at the dispensary. We even saw a recall happen about 3 months after products hit the shelves. So they obviously were consumed through Curaleaf. We are very concerned because of the reports that we've seen from the condition of the plants at Curaleaf and at Harmony, where there was reports of air conditioning fluid going into the water that was feeding the plants. So we're very concerned about the fact that they can only send a certain sample in to get tested based on a whole batch and not actually have standard random finished testing of products that are getting into patients' hands and being consumed. We also believe that there should be much more stringent penalties for companies that violate this, especially within the medical facility, the medical aspect of it. These are patients that are paying exorbitant fees for top-notch medicine, and they are not receiving it. And they are also not receiving even the proper channels to report these or talk to them. We found that when patients have actually confronted the dispensaries about the mold in their product, they were told that if they said or commented about it again, they would be asked not to come back to that dispensary. That challenge of a patient's right is just kind of ridiculous, and there needs to be more penalties in place for these dispensaries that violate and put out products that are tainted to patients that are relying on this medicine and paying top-notch dollar for it. And the second part, I would just like to see the commission really take into consideration Atlantic City when it comes to what they're doing as far as conventions. Atlantic City is really primed to be the East Coast capital of cannabis conventions and bring in an amazing amount of money to Atlantic City, because once this goes full legalization across the country, people are going to rely on these conventions to meet, to converse, to exchange ideas, and Atlantic City could really be the home of that. It's already set up, it's prime, it's perfect for it, and I think Atlantic City and New Jersey really need to take that into consideration when writing the legislation. Really consider the fact that we have something that nobody else has here, and if we write the laws in the correct way, we can utilize it to the benefit of the entire state.
Thank you, Zach. Next is Elizabeth Park.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I'm wondering when we will be hearing about the 2019 RFA applications. And that's pretty much my only question for right now. And I appreciate you taking my question.
Thank you for the comment. So there are a couple people who raised their hand here who have already spoken. So we're going to people who have not spoke yet. So next is Levi Holmes.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Levi Holmes. I'm co-owner of 93 ID, who we applied for a vertically integrated license. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak, but I just want to say the same thing about the 2019 RFA. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and we are a Black-owned company, and we are basically exhausting all our resources. We're talking about having the opportunity for African Americans to be a part of this business, to be a part of this new enterprise. We're here, we're waiting, and we're just paying rents, lease payments, legal fees since the beginning, since August of 2019. So if the commission could just award these licenses, that would grant us so much relief. Even if we don't get it, at least we can stop with all these large payments that we're making. We have made a lot of commitments to the municipality that we're dealing with, as well as the children in the community and everyone else. So if we can just get some type of notification about who's going to get what award, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is, and I have a feeling I know what this is going to be about. Next is home grow.
And can that individual please just make sure to state their name so
Yeah,
that we
please state your
can
name.
document it appropriately? Thank you.
Yes, hi, my name is Carl. How are you?
Hi, Carl.
Hi, thank you everybody for taking the time to do this for everybody in the state. I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else appreciates it. My question is, not question, my comment is that the state is missing out on a source of income, and that source of income is for hardware to potentially grow your own stuff. And if it becomes legal, I just want to make it known to the state that they're going to be losing, or they're going to be making a lot of money off of this hardware. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Next, Hugh Giordano.
Yes, can you hear me okay, Commissioner?
Hey, Hugh. How are you?
And hello, Director Brown. How you doing today?
Good.
Good. I first want to say congratulations to the entire commission, Chairwoman Wainu, and Vice Chair Delgado. I know you'll do a great job. And to the rest of the commission, I'm so glad to see you all. I wanted to make a comment to the commission and to the entire political body that's listening. We are very proud. I represent the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. We are the official labor union under the AFL-CIO, which represents cannabis workers from seed to sale, both medical and adult use. We are a national labor union of 1.3 million hardworking families across North America, with our sister unions in Europe and Asia as well. I wanted just to make it clear that UFCW will stand behind the workforce within this industry. We look forward to working with industry to create true social equity within communities. And what better way to create social equity than creating good unionized jobs that pay a living wage, that have health care, retirement, paternity leave, training. The UFCW is currently working on a national apprenticeship program that we want to work with. Some employers that were on here today are affiliated with the UFCW that have applied already. And we look forward to bringing those types of resources to communities, specifically communities of color, immigrants, LGBTQ, and other minority communities. We are working and talking to tribal communities as well. And we hope that the commission will look at tribal rights as well as part of the conversation for the future. We also hope that the commission will enforce the law, meaning that labor peace agreements are entered into and fulfilled. Signing a labor peace agreement is not good enough in the conversation of social equity. To have true social equity at a cannabis job, you must have a collective bargaining agreement, which gives these guarantees to workers and protections. Also very happy that the commission and the state is supporting the build out with the building trades. UFCW is working closely with New Jersey building trades to make sure that more minorities and women get into the building trades, which is important because those skills will go further than just cannabis, specifically within communities of color. And we look forward to working with the building trades as well in their project labor agreements that they are getting signed. We hope that you continue to protect patients' rights.
Hey, just 15 seconds.
Thank you. Protect patient rights for the future. And the UFCW is committed to creating a strong workforce and making social equity a pillar of that. Thank you so much and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So everybody who has signed up or raised their hand has had an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Director Brown. And I know that there are some others who have spoken already and who wish to speak again. Just out of respect for those who will have sat through the meeting, want to make sure that everybody has one opportunity to speak. However, those individuals who do wish to add additional comments, feel free to do so via email. Now, so we've done the public comment period. So that includes the business before us today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid. Any second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it, and we are adjourned. Thank you again to everybody for joining us today. The approved calendar will be posted on the website. The next meeting right now is scheduled for May 4th at 6 p.m. And so due to the ongoing pandemic, the meeting will be held virtually, and details will be added to the website when they are confirmed. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.